child's pose facing the top of the mat. Big toes are touching. Knees are as wide as it feels comfortable for you. And then just walk your hands all the way out toward the top of the mat. Forehead rests down. Take a first couple movements or first couple breaths to just get rid of those initial pieces of resistance. Those first few things that feel a little tight or stiff once we get down here, once we get into the practice. And then make your breath very intentional. Take 5 or 6 counts to fill up on your inhale. And then just open your mouth and let that breath fall out. Again, 5 or 6 counts to fill up. And open your mouth, let the breath fall out. One more time, deep breath in. Deep breath out. And then for the first piece of this practice, I want you to start that Ujjayi breath. Breathing in through the nose and back out through the nose. Just starting to build a little heat in the body. We're going to be a little more stationary today. We're going to hold our poses for a little longer. We're going to stay more grounded than usual. And so I want the heat to come from the breath. I want the body to warm up and to ease into the poses rather than feeling like it has to be the biggest version as soon as we get into it. And so use that breath to melt away a couple more spots that feel tense. Softening a couple extra inches into the ground. Easing the tension in your shoulders and your neck and your hips. And sweep both hands over toward the left side of your mat. And reach your right fingertips up higher than your left. Reach your right ribs over toward the edge of the mat. Feel that big stretch across the right side of the body. Take 5 deep breaths. And then walk your hands back to the center of the mat and over toward the right side with your left fingertips reaching higher than your right. Reaching the left ribs over toward the edge of the mat. Take 5 deep breaths. And then sweep your fingertips back toward the top of the mat. With a really round spine, peel yourself up off the mat into tabletop. Coming right into that cat shape. Chin tucked into the chest. Upper back pulling toward the ceiling. Push your hands into the ground and imagine you could slide them right to left. Feel that big stretch across the upper back. And then drop your belly to the floor. Look up toward the ceiling. Feel that big stretch through your abs. One more time. Chin into your chest. A really slow cat pose. And then belly to the floor. Gaze to the ceiling. A really slow cow. Come back to tabletop. Walk your hands closer toward the top edge of your mat, out from underneath your shoulders. And then lean forward, lower all the way down onto your belly. Toes are untucked. Hands are right underneath the shoulders. We'll lift up for a baby cobra. Really tiny on this first one. Slide your elbows toward your hips. Reach your chest up toward the top edge of your mat. And then press into your hands. Reach your butt back toward your heels for child's pose. Keep your hands where they are. Roll yourself with a round back, almost like you're coming through cat. And then lower all the way down to your belly. Baby cobra, lengthen the legs, lift your chest. Push back to child's pose. One more time like that. A round spine. Peel yourself up off the mat. Lower all the way down to your belly. And then drop the shoulders away from the ears. Reach your chest forward. Press your hips back. Child's pose. We're going to take our hands into a fist. So right and left hand hold on to each other. Keep your elbows on the ground. Take that fist back behind your head. Maybe the fist reaches toward the middle of the shoulder blades. Press your elbows into the mat. Pull your heart away from the floor. And then gently release your hands. Lift back up to tabletop. Tuck your toes. Press your hips back. Downward facing dog. Heavy in your hands. Reach your hips up away from your fingertips. Try to mimic that same stretch under the armpits that you just felt a moment ago with your elbows on the ground. So the chest is really pulling away from the crease of the elbow. Take 3 more deep breaths. One more time. Deep breath in through your nose. Deep breath out through your nose. Walk your hands back towards your feet for ragdoll. Soften the knees. Let your chest rest on your thighs. And then take your hands, place them on the back of your calf muscles. So right hand on right calf, left hand on left calf. Use your arms to draw your chest closer towards your thighs. Relax your head. Look back between your shins. Just letting the weight of the upper body pull you into a deeper version of this stretch. So again, we don't have to be in that biggest position or that most impressive version of this right away. I want you to let every exhale bring you deeper into the pose. Take 2 more big breaths. And then plant your hands. Walk yourself all the way back out into tabletop. You're going to lower down onto your belly, just like we did in the beginning. And this time I want you to prop yourself up onto your forearms for Sphinx pose. Line it up so that your elbows are right underneath your shoulders. Palms are pressing down in the mat, onto the mat in the number 11. So the hands are separated. And then imagine that you could drag your elbows closer towards your hips. They don't actually move, but as you drag them back, feel that space across the chest and the abs open up a little bit more. So really active here, not just propping up on our forearms, but pushing into the hands, reaching the crown of the head up, reaching the collarbones away from each other. Stay for 2 more breaths. And then slowly start to melt yourself down, taking your right cheek toward the mat. You'll stretch your left arm back by your left hip, bend your left knee, grab the top of your left foot. So coming into a quad stretch lying on your stomach. Once you have your left foot in your hand, and if that bind is tough, go ahead and grab your yoga strap around the top of your foot. I want you to tuck your tailbone under. Press your quads and your hips into the ground. Squeeze your glutes. Notice that quad stretch turn on. So really, really active here for these first few moments. Pulling the heel in a little tighter toward your seat. Pressing the front of the legs, the quads, deeper into the mat. Take 1 more breath in. 1 more breath out. And then keep the bind on your foot, but just soften the leg and the arm. You're going to prop yourself back up onto your right hand like a 1-armed sphinx. Bind your left foot like dancer. So your left hand grabs the arch of your left foot, and then kick your foot into your hand and feel the stretch through your chest on the left side. So the way we get this stretch is by really reaching the left foot back. And the bigger you kick your foot into your hand, the deeper that stretch in your chest is going to get. Now this is all of our heat. These first few poses here where we're active and we're pressing and we're pushing, this is where the warmth is going to build. But don't be afraid of that pressure in the beginning. Don't be afraid of a little bit of work. Stay for 2 more breaths. To roll that left side of the body open just a little extra. And then release your bind. Soften your arms and your leg back down to the ground. We're going to keep moving with that left leg. I want you to bring the left knee up next to your hip into a single leg frog. So your inner thigh on the left side is facing the ground, and you're trying to make a 90-degree angle with that left knee. For me, I get the most out of this when I come back to that active sphinx pose and I tuck my tailbone under like I did in the quad stretch. So I'm pushing into my forearms and I'm trying to tuck my tailbone under. This can be a really intense pose though, so if you don't need all that extra tension, don't create it. And even if you're adding that in, even if you're tucking the tailbone and pushing into the mat, soften your jaw, soften the space between your eyebrows. Create some extra length in the neck. Taking about 5 more breaths here in this single leg frog with the left knee up. If you're not feeling it, or if you've stopped feeling it as intensely as you first did, play around with the position of the hips. Maybe you press the left hip into the mat a little bit more, or squeeze your left glute. Notice if one hip's hiking up, if that left hip's higher than the right, level them back out. Take 2 more breaths. And then very slowly stretch that left leg back out on your mat. You're going to take your left forearm into a field goal shape on the ground and take your left cheek to the ground. Use your right hand to push your body weight onto that left side. I like to bring that right foot, drop my toes behind the left leg, and you feel that stretch on your chest on the left side. If that's too intense for you, you might be able to just stay on the ground with that arm down and your gaze over toward the right. Take one more breath in and one more breath out. And then roll yourself back down onto your stomach. You're going to prop yourself up on your forearms again for that Sphinx pose. Really active, pressing into your palms, lifting the chest and chin up. And then drop your right ear toward your right shoulder. Feel the stretch in the left side of your neck. Lower down chin to chest. Left ear, left shoulder. And then lift your head straight up in the center. One more time. Left ear, left shoulder this time. Lift the chest a little more if you can as you drop your chin down to your chest. Right ear, right shoulder. Good. Lift your head all the way back up. Lower down onto your stomach. Plant your hands. Press back to child's pose. Now this time you're going to make a spider shape with your hands. I want you to rise all the way up to your fingertips. Make the elbows lift up off the mat. And then try to pull your chest back toward your knees. Fingertips are glued to the mat, so we don't actually get to move. As you pull your chest back, feel that stretch on the underside of your arms again, on the underside of your armpits. Stay for 3 breaths. Really active in the arms. Relax your arms, lift yourself up to tabletop. Tuck your toes, press your hips back, downward facing dog. This time I want you to pedal the knees out. Bend your right knee, straighten your left. Bend your left knee, straighten your right. And then just keep pedaling from right to left, focusing on that calf stretch down in the back of the lower leg. One more time each way. And then soften your knees. Walk your hands in towards your feet, back into our ragdoll shape. Just like we did in down dog, again, you're going to pedal one knee at a time. So bend the right knee, straighten the left. And then bend the left knee, straighten the right. I'll just keep rocking from side to side, noticing that extra stretch at the back of the legs. The back of the straight leg should take most of your attention. Awesome. Soften both knees back in the center. Walk yourself back out into your tabletop position. And then one more time lower onto your stomach. So this time on our stomach, we're going to lift up into a higher position than that baby cobra. So you're going to press into your fingertips, roll your chest up off the mat, feeling that extra stretch in the abs. And then melt yourself back down longer than you started. Press into your hands, lift your chest up on your breath in. Roll yourself down, breathe out. Last time to the center, roll up on your inhale. Take your left shoulder down, gaze to the right on your exhale. Good. Come back to the center, breathe in. Right shoulder down, gaze to the left, breathe out. Good. One more each way, up to the center, inhale. Left shoulder down, look to the right, exhale. Good. One more time, back to the middle, breathe in. Right shoulder down, look to the left, breathe out. You'll come back to the center and then rest your left cheek on the ground. Reach your right hand back by your right hip. Grab a hold of the top of your right foot for your quad stretch. Squeezing your right glute, pressing your hips and your legs into the floor. And then tugging on that right foot just until you feel that stretch in your quad. Be mindful of your knees. Make sure it doesn't feel like anything is pulling across the kneecap. And then gradually with each exhale, we can start to go a little deeper into the stretch. And the more you tuck the tailbone under and the more you squeeze that right glute, the deeper that quad stretch is going to get. Take 2 more breaths. And still holding on to your right foot. So if you're using a strap, you're going to keep the strap in your hand. Lift yourself up onto your left forearm. So it's like Sphinx, but just on the left side. Good. Grab the inside of your right foot if you are holding your foot, and then kick your foot back into your hand to create that chest stretch on the right side. Now there's going to be a tendency to sink into the left hip or to roll onto the left arm. Keep trying to push the right hip down into the mat as you push the right foot back. So very level in the hips. That's going to make that chest stretch more intense. And then just deep breaths. Filling up the right side of the chest on every breath in. And then kicking your right foot back into your hand on every breath out. One more big inhale. One more big exhale. Release your right foot. And then slide that right knee up for single leg frog. So that right knee comes all the way up next to the hip. 90-degree angle in that right knee. Good. Again, I like to be active in this, so I press into the mat and I tuck my tailbone under. And that makes the inner thigh stretch on the right side right where I need it. It's the right amount of intensity. And you'll just play around with that position of your hips or that pressure in your arms and tuck of your tailbone until you find that sweet spot for you. It wants to be strong enough to give you a response, strong enough to feel like it's loosening something, but not so intense that we have to clench our jaw or hold our breath. So once you find it, go back to trying to create softness. Three more big breaths. And then slowly lengthen your right leg back out. Bring your right arm down to the ground in a field goal shape. Your right cheek to the ground as you push off of that left hand and roll onto the right side. Feeling that big chest stretch through the front of your right side. Last big breath in and out. And then slowly roll yourself back onto your stomach. You'll press your hands into the ground. Lift up into a full upward facing dog. Tops of the feet on the ground, thighs lifted up off the ground. Feel that big stretch through the abs. And then tap your knees to the ground. Lift your hips up over your knees for tabletop. Take your left arm up toward the ceiling. Sweep it all the way up. Thread your left arm underneath the right for thread the needle. Coming down onto the left side of your cheek. Your hips are going to want to push to the right. Give them a little tug back over toward the left. And then think of hollowing out the chest. Pulling your heart toward your shoulder blades. Feel that big stretch on the left upper back. Right across the back of the left shoulder. And one more time, breathe in. And breathe out. Plant your right hand onto the ground. Unravel your left arm all the way back up toward the ceiling. And then stretch your left leg out behind you into a kneeling side plank. And you're going to take that left bicep and rest it over your left ear. Feel a big stretch down the left side of the body. And then lift all the way up. Left hand slides down your left leg. Right arm reaches overhead for gate pose. Good. 3 more times. Right hand down, left arm over. Left hand down, right arm over. Right hand down, left arm over. Left hand down, right arm over. Beautiful. Last time, trying to reach your furthest into these 2 poses, the biggest you can go. And then end with your body upright, stacked over top of your right knee. You're going to turn your left toes to face the left or the top edge of your mat, and then bend your left knee almost like side angle. So the left knee is reaching toward 12 o'clock, and that right inner thigh gets a really big stretch. I've got my hand resting on the wall. It's okay if you need to bring your hand to a block for some support. Just take that left forearm and guide your left thigh away from your body. You're pushing it toward 12 o'clock. Feel that big stretch on the inside of the right hip. And take one more big inhale. Sink a little lower on the exhale. And take a full turn back to the other side of the mat. Hands plant down, we meet in tabletop. Good. We'll reach the right arm up toward the ceiling. Take a big inhale. Thread your right arm underneath the left as you exhale. Your hips will want to push to the left. Give them a tug back over toward the right. And then pull your heart away from your right fingertips. Take your left hand, press it into the ground, reach your right arm all the way back up toward the ceiling. And then spin onto your left shin, reach your right leg out long. And you'll take your right bicep, rest it over your right ear. And then peel all the way up, slide the right arm down your leg, reach your left arm overhead. And then pass back and forth between the two. And if one feels better than the other, don't let me bring you out of it or don't rush out of it. Take your time, give it all the attention it needs to loosen up. 2 more times each way. Your last one with your left arm overhead. Last one in gate pose. And then end with your shoulders stacked over top of your hips. Looking at your right foot, turn your toes to the right, back toward 12 o'clock, and then bend your right knee out in line with those right toes. Coming into a kneeling version of side angle. Big stretch through your inner thigh on the left side. Just a couple deep breaths. I'm still feeling this in my right side a lot, so I'm guessing that my right hip flexor is a little tighter today. As long as you're getting some sort of a response, don't worry too much about where you're getting it. But notice where you are and then see if you can make some adjustments to really soften that spot. Use the exhale to encourage those muscles to relax. Take one more big breath in. One more big breath out. And then full cartwheel back around to the top of the mat, meeting up in tabletop. You'll sit your butt back toward your heels and then just spin your legs around to the top of the mat. Good. And we're going to meet in a butterfly stretch. Bottoms of your feet touch. Knees are wide. Take your elbows, rest them on your inner thighs, and press your chest out toward your toes. So we're not worried about getting low. I want you to add a little bit of weight to the inner thighs. And then anchor your sit bones to the ground. Reach your chest away from your sit bones. You're going to push just a little more pressure into the right inner thigh. Reach your left arm back behind you. And then come back to the center. Push a little extra weight into your left inner thigh. Reach your right arm back behind you. And then bring both forearms back down towards your inner thighs. Fold your chest a little further over your legs. And just let the body soften. This is a great place for a block. One of my favorite yin poses is taking my block on the highest side and resting my forehead down. Take all the pressure, all the effort out of the upper body and just let the lower body sink into the ground. Take 2 more breaths. And then sit yourself all the way back up. You're going to stretch your right leg out in front of you. Keep your left knee tucked in. And then turn your whole body over toward your left knee. You're going to reach your right arm out toward your toes or out on your shin, but keep your left arm over your bicep. So we're not closing over toward our leg just yet. Almost like you could roll the right side open, similar to a side angle or triangle pose, gazing up into that left palm. And just gently taking that side bend, feeling a stretch down the left side of the body. Keep trying to pull the left rib back. And take 2 more breaths here. And then pull yourself all the way back up. Turn your body to face your right leg and bow down over the right foot. Now this is a really good spot to start to use that yoga strap that we grabbed. So your strap around the bottom of your right foot, holding on to either side. And you can use that to offer a little support while we soften the left leg. Soften the right leg. Take 2 more big breaths. And then lift your chest and chin all the way back up. Take your left leg and stack it over top of your right. So that left foot is going to go on the outside of your right leg. Your right arm is going to lift up overhead, hook your elbow towards your knee, twist to the left. And if that twist is too much with the elbow, just wrap both arms around the front knee and then take that twist over toward the left. You push your left sit bone a little tighter into the ground and lengthen your torso, lift your posture. That left hip should get a little stretch as well, back along the glute. So it's not just through the center of the body. And then gently unwind yourself. That top leg, that left leg is going to come all the way in back of you. And we're going to bend the right knee. So we've got two 90-degree angles. So 90 degrees in front, 90 degrees in back. Good. That back sit bone, that left sit bone is going to want to pop up off the ground. It's going to be more comfortable to lean to the right. I want you to bring your body weight back to the center. So anchor down through that left sit bone. Take your left hand to your right knee. Twist to the right. And you should feel a big stretch on the inside of that left hip. Your body will move all sorts of ways to get out of this. Your lower back's probably going to round a little bit, or your shoulders will slump forward. Lift your posture, level out the pelvis. All these things will help you find that spot that gives you the biggest response. Take one more deep breath, twisting over toward the right. And then bring yourself back to center. Square over that front leg and just bow down over the right shin. Now, this is my offering of half pigeon today, and if I'm ruining your day by not calling it with the back leg straight, go ahead and lengthen that left leg all the way out behind you. Just notice if you're pushing all the weight over toward that right hip, and if you are, press a little bit more back over toward the left, and see that even that emphasizes that right hip stretch. Take two more breaths. Walk your hands in toward your shin, lift your shoulders back up. And then gently carry that left leg all the way around so that it's stretched out in front of you and your right knee still bent. Awesome. We're just going to reverse it. You're going to turn your whole body over toward your right knee. Reach your left hand out, so it's either on your shin or your quad or your toes, and then your right bicep is going to rest over your ear, and you're going to take a lateral stretch down through the right side of the body. And push that right sit bone into the mat a little firmer, and then stretch those right fingertips out 1 more inch. Stacking your right ribs on top of your left, just like you're in side angle or triangle pose. And stay for 2 more breaths. And then lift your chest and chin all the way back up and take a full fold out over your left leg. 2 more breaths. Lift your chest and chin all the way back up. You'll take your right foot and cross it over your left knee. And then take your left elbow on the outside of your right knee and twist to the left. If that is tough to bind, or if it just doesn't feel as good, go ahead and wrap your arms around your leg and twist like that. I actually get a better stretch with my arms wrapped than I do with them bound, but I know most people like the bind. And then push that right sit bone down, lift the chest up. Keep taking that turn over toward the right. One more big inhale. One more big exhale. Bring yourself back to center. And then that front leg, that top leg, is going to come all the way around to the back into your 90-degree angle. And you'll bend your left knee for a 90-degree angle in front. Good. Again, it's going to be easier, more comfortable to sink to the left. Go ahead and pull your ribs back over toward the right. Right hand to your left knee, twist to the left. And getting a little deeper into that twist with every exhale. And just noticing if all of a sudden it starts to feel easy. Did you relax the body some way? Did you sink into an easy version instead of trying to create softness in the sticky spots? And take 2 more deep breaths. And slowly bring your body back to the center. And fold forward over your left knee. Still trying to keep the weight balanced between the right and the left hip. Pushing a little more weight into that right side if you're not sure. Option to stretch that right leg all the way back behind you for a full half pigeon. And see if you can move the pelvis a little and find something even deeper. Keep exploring those little adjustments, finding new ways to make the stretch feel like it's serving your body, like it's loosening some things up. One more big inhale, big exhale. And then walk your hands in toward your shin. We're going to press back into a little bit of a child's pose, and I want you to face the long side of your mat if you're not already. You're just going to slide that right shin underneath your left and face one of the long sides of your mat. Okay. We've been building up to this. We're coming into a full frog. If you're not on carpet, if your mat is on a hardwood floor, I encourage you to fold the edges of the mat in toward the middle and make a little extra cushion. Or you could put rolled up towels or yogi toes underneath your knees. We're going to come into a tabletop position to start this off. And I want you to take a few rounds of cat and cow. So we took them really slow in the beginning. You can let them move a little bigger now, or a little quicker. Just rolling the spine, discovering all that space that we've created. And then find tabletop neutral, like right in between cat and cow. And be really mindful of what happens to your pelvis as we start to walk the knees out. You're going to walk knees and toes together out to the right and to the left. And so as you walk your knees out, take the feet with you. And then just like we did in that single leg version, you're going to flex your feet and reach for that 90-degree angle in your knees. Cool. It gets really easy when you let your belly sink to the floor. I want you to tuck your tailbone under. And then if you're comfortable there, if you have some room, walk your forearms down to a yoga block or down onto the ground. Okay, we're not going to stay forever, but we are going to stay long enough to make it worth it. So every couple of breaths, I want you to try to tuck and untuck the pelvis and see which version is better for your hips. And you can also press your hips back towards your heels, kind of child's pose-esque. And then ease back out of that. Just a couple times. It should create a little more space. Each time you go back to that position, it's easier and you can go a little further. And then maybe on that very last one, once you find the most comfortable spot, you just stay and breathe. Big response in the hips. This is a hot button pose. Some people love it, some people hate it. Even if it's not your favorite, decide to breathe and see what it can give to your body tonight. Take 3 more big, long breaths. 6, 7 counts in. 6 or 7 counts out. One more time. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Gracefully or ungracefully, get yourself out of frog. So you can slither forward, coming into a Sphinx pose, or you can walk your knees together. Then just take a moment with your knees together, inner thighs touching, sitting back on the tops of your feet. Give the hips a second to get used to coming back together. Maybe you drop your left ear toward your left shoulder, stretch the side of your neck out to pass the time. And then switch opposite ear to shoulder. And lift your chest and chin. We're going to swing our legs all the way around to the top of the mat. Lie on your back and grab your yoga strap. We've got our last few poses here. So take that yoga strap around the bottom of your right foot. And the left leg is just going to stretch out long. And holding onto your yoga strap, I want you to walk your hands up as close to your foot as you can, so that all you have to do is soften the elbows to deepen the stretch. We're not tugging, we're not using the biceps, the arms are really long, and then just soften the elbows. Anchor the outside of that right hip down toward the mat. Flex your right toes back toward your shin, moving from the ankle. Taking a couple deep breaths, maybe on the exhale trying to draw your right thigh closer toward your chest without knocking the hips out of alignment. So keep reaching the right hip down toward the mat. Think of pushing your right sit bone toward your left inner thigh. And then then bend that right knee in toward your chest or toward your shoulder for a one-legged happy baby. And you could leave the strap on your foot and grab the bottom of your foot if you need a little more pull, but the strap is a nice way to get into this if it's not usually something that feels comfortable. Gently stretch the right leg back up toward the ceiling. Take both sides of your strap into your right hand, and then use your left hand to pull your leg across the midline of your body. Now that right leg is crisscrossing over the left, or still holding onto the strap. I like to take my right hand into my right hip crease and push my right hip toward my left foot. And that stretch should slide toward the outside of your right hamstring. It should get pretty intense on the outside of that right leg. Take one more breath with the leg crossed. And then release the strap. Cross that right knee over the left, like eagle legs. Drop both legs over to the left for your supine twist. And if that's not the supine twist that you like, you can stretch the bottom leg out. Just take some kind of supine twist. Letting the knees soften to the left and that right shoulder anchor down onto the ground. Gently bring your knees back into the center. Unravel the legs and place the yoga strap around the bottom of your left foot. Stretching the right leg out long. And again, walking your hands up as close to your foot as you can so that all you have to do is soften the elbows to deepen that stretch. Sink the left hip toward the mat and roll your left sit bone toward your right inner thigh. A couple more deep breaths, pulling that left thigh in toward your chest a little more with each exhale, or at least feeling this position get a little more comfortable the longer that you stay. And then gently softening your left knee in toward your left shoulder for that one-legged happy baby. Just a couple more deep breaths. Pulling the left knee away from the right hip. And then re-stretching that left leg back up toward the ceiling. Grab the strap with your right hand and pull your left leg across the center of your body. Just past midline. It's not going to touch the ground just yet. Take your left hand into your hip crease and press your left hip toward your right foot. And that deep stretch on the outside of the left leg. Soften your jaw. You separate your teeth and your lips. Take your tongue away from the roof of your mouth. One more big inhale. One more big exhale. And then cross your left knee over top of your right like eagle legs. Drop your knees to the right. Anchor the left shoulder down to the mat. And then gently draw both knees back in toward your chest. Unravel the legs. Wrap your arms tight around your legs. Head, neck, and shoulders lift up off the ground. Curl your body into a tight little ball. Flex everything one last time. Feet flex, legs flex. Squeeze your arm muscles. Tighten up your face muscles. Breathe in. Shavasana on your breath out. I'll set up any final position that your body's needing. You can lay back flat. You could take a block underneath your back for supported fish, or your legs up the wall for a reclined waterfall. Just find a position to create that last bit of softness. Taking any effort out of the breath. Letting it happen naturally. Take 2 more big breaths. Slowly start to wake the body back up. If your legs are up the wall, or if you're in a supported position on the block, just make your way onto your back and then roll onto either side. And then use your top hand to press yourself all the way up to a seated position. And we'll meet with our legs crossed, eyes closed. Just for a moment, enjoying this stillness and the space that you've created. Setting an intention if you have a direction that you want to go in or a space that you want to travel into. And bring your hands to heart center. And we'll close with 3 breaths. Take that big 6 or 7 count in through your nose. Open your mouth, let it go. Again, deep breath in. Deep breath out. One more time to the very, very top of the breath in. Into the very bottom of the breath out. Lift your thumbs to third eye center, where the light and love in me sees and honors that same light and love in each of you. Thank you guys so much for slowing down with me. Namaste.